Have you ever jolted awake because of a faint tuck, tuck echoing inside your own house at midnight? The sound is tiny, almost nothing, yet it's enough to make you sit bolt upright, hold your breath, and feel every hair on your arms stand on end. And if, at that exact moment, you peer through a crack in the door and see a white dog with eyes burning red, standing upright on its hind legs, its front legs braced on a wooden cane, a woven farmer's hat drooping over its head, what would you do? Run? Start chanting prayers? Or freeze dead still because your brain can't process what your eyes are seeing fast enough? Even worse is catching a white dog, those red eyes glowing like live coals, chewing and tearing into chickens and ducks in your yard. In the folk beliefs of Southeast Asia, that horrifying image is called the straw hat cane dog, known in Vietnamese as straw hat cane dog, also called the dog that wears a hat and leans on a cane. People tell it like a familiar village tale across Vietnam, Laos, Thailand, and what makes it cling to anyone who hears it is a spine-prickling assertion. The legend still exists to this day. Oral stories from these places say that when a family has just lost someone, strange nights follow. After dark, they hear the tuck, tuck of a cane tapping the floor somewhere in the shadows. Some think it's rats, some think it's a thief, but curiosity beats fear. They crack the door open and see a dog that shouldn't be possible. Its body is still a dog, yet it stands upright. Its hind legs struggle to balance like a newborn learning to walk, while its forelegs press against a wooden stick for support. It sneaks into the house to search for the corpse, to eat it. Others tell it differently. On a bright moonlit night, someone looks up at the roof and sees a hat-wearing dog, eyes blazing red, standing upright on a cane, as if it's absorbing some kind of energy from the moon, as if it needs that energy to survive or to evolve. And if anyone catches it on the roof in that moment, they will go insane immediately and die only days later through a string of horrifying causes. People also say these demon-like creatures often stalk chickens and ducks, easy prey, close to humans, the quickest way to shake a household into panic. But the detail that drags the story across the line into something truly unforgettable, truly terrifying, is this. Sometimes they eat the flesh of corpses that haven't even been buried yet, and there is a generational whisper that makes people shudder. Its favorite delicacy is the tongue of beautiful dead women. From those kinds of scenes, whether truth or imagination, the name Straw Hat Cane Dog was born, like a brand seared onto the living's fear of the dead being violated in the most grotesque way. So what is it really? Some spiritual force possessing a dog, or simply a dog that has lived so long it has become a spirit? The unsettling thing is that in folk belief, both explanations are accepted, and so the straw hat cane dog is often divided into two types by origin. The first type is the dog spirit, a pet that lives unnaturally long, so long it begins to develop spiritual awareness and gradually becomes cunning, clever at hiding its nature, capable of deceiving human eyes. People compare it to fox spirits and skeletal demons in Chinese tales, not because it turns into a human overnight, but because it can make you believe that what stands before you is no longer an ordinary dog. There's an old saying, roughly, a dog should not live past 8 years, a chicken should not live past 6 years. So when an animal survives far beyond what feels normal, people begin to suspect it has started turning into something frightening, something whispered about in old stories. Its awareness doesn't make it intelligent like a person, but it makes it sly. It knows how to vanish, how to stalk, how to choose the exact moment when humans are weakest to appear. Folk belief says that to reach that stage, it must seize souls, absorb the spiritual breath of heaven and earth at moments like the full moon, or worse, it feeds its essence by eating flesh and drinking the blood of living creatures, even humans. Do you smell superstition in that? Yes, but it's precisely that superstition that chills the spine. It doesn't need to follow scientific logic, it only needs to be terrifying. The second type is believed to be born from wandering, resentful dead, victims of war and violence, left behind in places once turned into battlefields, where people believe rage and hatred and restless bitterness accumulate into a heavy, stubborn miasma. Those spirits do not pass on, and they survive through gruesome means, feeding on human blood and vitality, eating the soul breath of the dead. But because they fear spiritual forces that patrol, they dare not possess a human directly. Instead, they slip into animal bodies, and they are said to prefer old household animals on the verge of dying because they are close to people, familiar with the home, and can cling to a family more easily to keep existing. In other words, the dog is only the shell. What stands upright under the moonlight, leaning on a cane, is something else. And the detail everyone fixates on is, why does it appear on rooftops, especially on full moon nights? Oral lore says the straw hat cane dog climbs onto the roof during the full moon to avoid the gods and saints on patrol below. From high ground, it can watch more easily the chicken coop, the duck pen, and most terrifying of all, it searches for humans too. The image of a dog standing with a cane on the roof becomes the classic folk nightmare, paired with a detail that sounds absurd yet strikes straight into a primal reflex. If someone is so terrified that they gape with their mouth open, it can eat their soul. Think about it. Fear makes you forget to breathe, makes you open your mouth to scream, to call, to beg for help. But the instant you open your mouth, you are also opening a door for that thing to enter. That's what makes people shiver. A deeply human, unconscious reflex is twisted into a trap. And what about the cane? Why would a dog need a cane at all? Folk explanations say this: a dog's back is built to be horizontal. If a resentful spirit lives in that body all day long, it becomes backaches from being forced into an animal's posture. So when night falls, when humans sleep, it dares to stand upright so the back can rest, so the thing inside can stretch like a human. But a dog's hind legs aren't stable enough to stand for long, so it finds a wooden stick to use as a support. And that is where the talk comes from. Oral tales also speak of a kind of demonic gang among animals: the whore cat, the ghost owl, ducks that eat raw flesh, roosters that crow at night, gathering on rooftops on the nights when humans sleep the deepest. And within that group, the straw hat cane dog is said to be the leader, the ringleader of all that sneaks and rots in the dark, while people lock their doors, turn off their lights, and tell themselves the world is safe. That's why, in folk belief, the mere appearance of the straw hat cane dog is considered an omen of disaster. And deeper still, the story reflects another layer of the collective psyche. It is tied to fear of a family's order collapsing, tied to moral decay. Folk belief says that where the straw hat cane dog often appears is often where yin energy is heavy, so heavy that even livestock can turn into demons. It may be an omen that an elderly person in the house is nearing death, or it may be a warning about the deterioration of traditional ethics, siblings fighting over inheritance, descendants disrespecting ancestors, wives being promiscuous, even incest within the family, and it comes there to seize souls or eat the flesh of the depraved.
It sounds like a dark moral threat, doesn't it? But precisely because it is both grotesque and admonishing, it endures. Primal fear in some way becomes a method for people to remind themselves to guard what is good in the place they live. One story says that on a full moon night, a household heard the tock-tock right above the kitchen. Thinking it was a thief, the man grabbed a flashlight and swept the beam over the rafters. The light passed, and there it was, a shadow standing upright, clearly a dog, but with the brim of a woven hat drooping down, hiding most of its face. The man recoiled, and by instinct, he opened his mouth to shout for his wife and children, but the sound never came. Some say he suddenly felt his throat turn ice cold, as if an invisible hand reached in, seized his voice, and squeezed it shut. And at that exact moment, from the roof came the canes tapping, tock, tock, tock. The next morning, he wasn't dead, but from that day on, he went mad, staring into empty space, eyes hollow like a body with no soul left inside. Yet whenever his wife and his younger brother appeared, he would erupt, lunging, trying to bite, trying to eat them, because he believed they were having an affair behind his back. No one ever saw them cheating, but everyone in that house was forced to live with the sense that something filthy and hidden was there, like a dirty rope tightening and dragging the family downward. And you see it, don't you? The most terrifying thing isn't the shadow on the rafters, it's what it leaves behind inside the living mind.
Another story is told in a land marked by wartime upheaval. People say there was an old dog in the neighborhood, its coat thin and ragged, and every night it would creep into the yard and sit staring into the darkness as if waiting for someone. On one full moon night, a child woke to pee and accidentally glanced through the window and saw that dog had climbed onto the roof at some point, standing upright, leaning on a cane, eyes red like embers, a hat on its head. The child froze solid, too afraid to cry out because he feared he might open his mouth. By morning, the oldest person in the family suddenly weakened, gasping for breath, murmuring about children who had disrespected their ancestors. People said that was the omen the straw hat cane dog brought, a sign of heavy yin, a warning about the elderly, a slap in the face of a household's decaying discipline. And the horror is that a few days later, that old man died in his sleep. Blood leaked from his ears and eyes. A rancid stench rose so strong no one in the family dared come close. And only much later did the villagers discover the truth. That very old man had once dug up his ancestors' grave to steal gold. And so the story closes the way folk tales often do. It plants fear, then nails it to a moral cause, so the listener understands without being told. Don't do evil, or one day the demon will tap its cane right above your roof. By now, someone will ask, so is there any way to recognize which dogs might turn into a straw hat cane dog? Folk belief says there are a few potential signs. Dogs that are often white-furred with a red nose, or a jet black dog with a white nose, 4 white paws, and a tail tipped with white hair. But even in the telling, there's a notable point. Scientifically speaking, these identification beliefs are considered baseless, and they have caused many misunderstandings with modern mixed breeds today. And so avoiding certain dogs is mostly psychological, creating a barrier that makes people feel safe so that when night falls, they don't manufacture cane-tapping sounds in their own imagination. In the end, if you ask me, is the straw hat cane dog real, or only a fear retold? The answer may lie in how folk belief works. Some stories exist not to prove, but to warn, to remind, to hold something in place. It may be the image of an animal that lived long enough to become a spirit. It may be a shell for a resentment that never passed on. Or it may simply be what people long ago named those full moon nights when roofs feel closer and darkness feels deeper. But if one night you hear that talk inside your house, would you dare look up at the roof? And more importantly, are you sure you won't, without thinking, open your mouth in terror?